All right, so this is the Carolina rig. Something tells me this might work pretty well where you live. So essentially, the setup on the hook, same thing. You can use an EWG or, still haven't learned the name of it, this other style hook. You always want it to be rigged weedless because you're going to be dragging on the bottom. The only difference between Carolina rig and the Texas rig is with the Carolina rig, you got your weight up here on your line. So I pre-tied this, and you can see up here, you're going to have your leader. So from your bait up to a swivel, you're probably going to want usually between 12 and 18 inches of leader, depending on the depth of the water. If you're fishing in a pond or a pretty shallow water, I would probably stick with smaller, 8 to 12 inches. If you're in a deeper water, you're going to want to go with more leader, maybe up to 18 inches. And then right above your swivel, you're going to have your weight. Again, you can use different styles, different types of weight. As a general rule, you want to have just enough weight to keep it on the bottom. You don't want it to be real heavy, dragging through the mud. You want it to just enough to stay on the bottom. And then that's your main line right there. And typically you're going to fish it, just kind of slowly drag it, or maybe give it little pops. And what it's going to do is, instead of your bait staying, nose down in the mud or in the bottom, like on a Texas rig, is when you pop this bait is going to flutter up in the water column, and it's going to slowly float back down. It's going to flutter up and slowly float back down. This is a good technique in the summer when the bass are pretty inactive. You can use creature baits and, brush hogs, all kinds of different stuff. Usually, though, with a Carolina rig, you're going to be using some style of just a straight or a big long worm. This is a curly tail worm. You get a little more action on the tail. It can be very effective. This is another example. This is just a zoom trick worm. So it's just kind of a longer straight worm. They both have their times when they're more effective. You can play around and see what works. But a Carolina rig, that's another effective style. Personally, honestly, for you, starting out, I would really just, the Texas rig and the Carolina rig, I would stick to those two things, get those down. To this day, I still, probably one of the most common ways I fish, and then maybe start to learn the jig a little. But I would really start with the Texas rig probably, and then once you're more comfortable with the Texas rig, play around with the Carolina rig, and just those two methods alone should catch you a lot of fish.